I'm Levi Steele, and this is the Ordinary People Podcast. All right, everyone, I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Ordinary People Podcast with me, your host, Levi Steele. Today, I'm joined by another guest, as always, Miss Becky Watts. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So, before we jump into this and get started, I just kind of want to give you a brief introduction, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay, today I have a guest that I think is going to be really interesting because what she does, most people have benefited from without even realizing it. She is the founder and editor of Pike County Times, an online local newspaper that has been covering our community for nearly 20 years. Free to read from day one. She is a law enforcement wife, a homeschool mom, and if you've ever read her paper, you know the color codes. She color codes her articles, and that detail alone tells you everything about who she is. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So let's kind of begin. May you tell me a little bit about how you know me and know my family?
Homeschooling. 2 kids. Husband was going off to Iraq for the second tour, and they were in public school, and they needed structure and stability of being at home, so we started homeschooling. And through that, we got involved with this Sea Life co-op, and the kids were able to go to school and with everybody else and learn the things like science, which was a big one where they could go and do all of the experiments and stuff. I wanted them to be able to be with others and do bigger things than they could do at home with me.
So kind of tell me a little bit of, like, what did homeschooling mean to you? Were you glad you did it? Do you regret it?
No, we loved it. Being able to go off and hang with friends, go and do things, the history, the field trips, not just, going and doing fun stuff, but historical field trips of those things, absolutely worth it, every bit of it. And the stability that we were able to have from being as a family while my husband was gone, and then after he got back, it was very good. And I did tell them if they wanted to go to high school, that if they would get up in the mornings, they could go. They didn't want to get up in the mornings.
Yeah.
None of us are morning people, so we like to sleep in. It was good.
Gotcha. I know being homeschooling, and I've talked about it on here, but it was great for me because I think it gives people more opportunity. If we're being honest, right? It gave me the opportunity and flexibility to work more.
Yes.
So I was able to go and work a few days a week sometimes, maybe one day a week with my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And, and if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now.
That's beautiful.
And so, it's not the way for everyone,
That's true. Some
people need the structure of public school more than homeschool. But for me, it was fantastic,
Some kids like that classroom atmosphere.
Yes.
And my kids could have cared less. And they went to Southern Crescent, so they had some of that classroom, and then with the Sea Life classroom experience, where we walked through that last several years of school, it was good.
Yeah, and doing dual enrollment my last year, it kind of gave me a preview, I guess, or a view into kind of maybe how public school is structured a little bit, where you got to go to an actual classroom. Yes. You can't sit on your couch, and and there's deadlines on stuff.
Yes.
Which I hated at first, but then I came to love. Because having those deadlines pushed me to get stuff done and to prioritize it and manage my time.
It did. Well, if you weren't in my class, you weren't quite old enough. In my writing classes, we had deadlines, and their papers were graded. We looked for grammar, and there were certain things that you had to do, and you could never use Wikipedia as a source. You can ask anybody that was in my classes. Absolutely not.
It's still that the same way, and and I completely agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, I could go in there and make it say whatever I want. Why would you use a source like that?
Well, look into it, do your research. Where is your source? Where's it coming from? That sort of thing is important in life with a newspaper too, but even growing up and writing a paper, it mattered.
And it probably still matters in your work today.
It does, absolutely.
So take me back to the beginning. Where did you grow up, and what did life look like for you early on?
I grew up in Meansville. My parents had a little ceramic shop in Meansville. I grew up with, and the ceramic shop is still there, and it's still open now. My brother he owns it, and Carol Berry is helping run it. But I grew up, it was like a little mini farm. There were chickens, there were goats. I had a Shetland pony for a while, but goats especially, cows later on, just going to church, hanging out with friends, doing all the stuff, marching band, for all of my high school years. I graduated from Pike County in 1992. Some of the best years of my life. And I still hang out with some of those people that I went to school with.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
What instrument did you play?
Flute.
Okay.
Yes. And you had to hold it just so. It had to be up straight. There was a lot of discipline involved in marching band that people who haven't been involved might not think about.
My grandmother plays the flute in church band and some other ones too.
Very cool.
So,
I don't play anymore.
what made you put it down?
I didn't have the time. I didn't have a place to get in and play it. And, I played it throughout college. But after college and I got married, I didn't play it anymore. So I gave it to someone who took it to a child in Africa to play. So it's being played somewhere today.
How cool is that? Wow.
Yes, opportunities.
Absolutely. That's crazy.
Yep.
I didn't even know that's something you could do.
Well, as you network, there's people who know somebody who knows somebody. And if somebody says, hey, I know somebody that's fixing to go to Africa and there's a school over there and they need instruments. It doesn't matter, what instrument it is. Just send it. Here you go. God opened a door. And I sent my flute on to be used by somebody and loved by somebody else.
Wow, that's special.
Yeah.
What were your aspirations growing up for after high school?
As I walked through high school, I was going to go to college. I knew I was going to go to college. I like politics. I've always liked politics. I thought I was going to be an attorney. First 4 years of school, got a major in political science. And then I worked for an attorney for 3.5 years in Thomaston. It wasn't really, I didn't feel like that was my calling. But I was going to county commission meetings in Thomaston for that 3.5 years. And I'd write editorials, I'd make phone calls, I'd do all the stuff just to let people know what was going on with their county commission. And that kind of spoke to me. So after I had my first child, I decided, hey, well, maybe instead of being an attorney and going back to school and doing all this stuff, maybe I'll be a reporter. Well, I looked for a job locally, couldn't get it. I mean, I put in all over, Thomaston, Pike County, everywhere, couldn't get a job. So I ended up doing another job for a while. And then when my husband went overseas the second time, I ended up looking for a job. I lost my job because they needed somebody full time, and he was overseas, and my kids needed me. So I went looking for jobs. I put in everywhere, overqualified. All that college, overqualified. I couldn't get a part-time job as a paralegal, any of that. So I thought, well, God's calling me to do something in politics. And I had to repent because I was in a full run away from God because I thought he was calling me to be a politician. And anybody who knows me and this mouth knows that I'm too blunt, I'm too plain. It wouldn't have worked. And I'm like, God, come on now. This isn't what you're calling me to do. But he was calling me to work in politics when I sat still and listened and repented of running, because I was full running and I knew it. When I said, God, I'm sorry, show me what you want me to do, I started writing. I had been covering Pike County politics at that time since 2000, and this is in 2006. So 6 years later, start a blog. So I was just blogging. Here's what happened in the county commission meeting. And I'd put my opinions in blue, because my opinions are not the news. I would tell how this ties into this, because things happen in cycles. Everything that happens in a county commission happens, in a year. I can tell you we're fixing to do budget stuff. Then we'll set the millage rate. There's all these things that happen throughout that time. You know what's going on. So for people that didn't know or understand, I just tried to write things out simply. Here it is. And if somebody was misbehaving, I'd write something in blue and say, here's why I think that something needs to be done better. Here's what the rule is. They're not following this rule. That sort of thing. Not holier than thou or any of that. Just simply, here's what the rules are. We're not following the rules, and our own rules say this. Here it is. So it wasn't me just giving an opinion. I was looking and pulling the information, so I have something on paper, something more than just an opinion, which is
the facts.
Yeah, I want to put the facts out there, and I want things to be level, no drama. Just here it is. Do your research, make your phone calls, ask your questions, and look behind me. Don't just believe me because I write it.
There in the early 2000s, what piqued your interest in county commission meetings? Because I know those can be some densely packed meetings there.
There were. I've seen the courthouse at midnight when a county commission meeting started at 6:30. When I first started going to county commission meetings, they were just morning meetings. There were no night meetings. And when they started having night meetings, they did the same thing with the morning meetings. If they went into executive session, the people had to go outside. There was a room that they were in, but they didn't go anywhere else. People went outside. So if it was cold, if it was raining, if it was hot, the people were outside until they got done. And if you didn't walk in when they got done, you missed the decisions that they made after they talked about executive session. It's not that way now. We're up in the courthouse now. Things have changed a lot over that time. But a morning meeting and a night meeting, that was a good step. That way people could come to meetings. Oh, wait, I didn't answer your question. You said, what was my catalyst? We weren't following the rules. There were things that were being done that we clearly have. Our code book says you have to do this, and we weren't doing them. And I'm looking and going, this isn't right. And I could send a letter to the editor. I was sending letters to the Griffin Daily News and to the Pike Journal Reporter. But it wasn't enough to make things change. Because people would read it, but they didn't really understand. You can't tell a whole meeting, a meeting that lasted 3, 4, 5 hours in an editorial. So I just started blogging. And it wasn't long before that went from just a blog to, yes, I'm still focused on the commissioners, but I'm also covering the news. That was kind of fun. Unexpected, but God knew what he was doing.
So it started with county commission meetings.
Yes.
And then you kind of transferred into just covering the local news. Why did you kind of make that shift in a way?
Well, my focus, I'll tell people, my focus is still going to county commission meetings. But there's other news that happens in the county that people need to know about. Like the fire that happened on Thursday, and ways to help people, not just, look, a fire happened. There's also ways to help people. If there's a way to educate people on what's going on and get them involved, that's what I want to do.
That's important. Why do you think members of the community need to be involved? And that might sound like a dumb question, but so often we go living in living in a county our whole lives and never really knowing what's going on, or we just go to work and come home and go to sporting events, or we have no idea what's going on, in our own county, in our own backyard.
Until you go to build a house and the impact fee is almost tripled from what it was. Or some other rule has changed, like it used to be 2 acres for a piece of property, and now it's 5. Yeah. The decisions that are made there affect you, whether you go or not. You can be a part of the process, and even if everything isn't what you want it to be, you have a say in it. There's something to that.
Do you think people just don't care anymore?
I don't know that they don't care. People are busy. People stay so busy. If you've got kids playing ball, if you're involved in different whatevers, it's easy to say, well, I'm not going to worry about that right now. But with county commission meetings being online, you don't really have an excuse to not watch. And if you have questions, there are people you can ask. You can call your commissioner and ask questions.
How can people do that? And I'm speaking, from a personal standpoint. If I want to call up my commissioner right now, where can I go to find his information?
You can call the county commission office and ask them, and they will give you a phone number or get a message to them where they can call you.
Will they do that, or will they?
They should.
Dodge?
They should. There have been some in the past that have dodged and not returned phone calls. But if you don't return calls to your constituents, the people that voted you into office, that tends to have consequences when it's time to vote. It depends on if someone is willing to run against whoever's in office. It takes a certain kind of person to be able to want to run, even in county politics. Sometimes state national is so yucky. And sometimes people associate that with county as well. It's on a smaller level here. But I mean, if you've got a heart for politics, why wouldn't you?
Talk about voter education for me a little bit.
Okay.
We talked about this a little bit before, but so often times we see, I've seen this shift in my lifetime from where you can trust what the media is saying about a politician, or somewhat, to where everybody has an opinion, whether that's X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any sort of social media platform.
Mm-hmm.
And your favorite influencer, your favorite vlogger, whatever, they're all pushing an agenda. They're all pushing a certain politician. And I see a lot within my generation they're voting based off of how their favorite vlogger, how their favorite influencer, what they're pushing. Why do you think that is so dangerous?
Why would I take someone else's opinion and vote with that if they're going to make decisions that are going to influence my life? That makes no sense to me. I do have an education page. It's an election information page on where people, 500 words or less, tell me who you are and why you're running. And don't tell me about your opponent, because I want to know why you're running. Where's your heart? Why are you doing what you're doing? And then how can people reach you if they have questions? People need to dig. I'm not going to take anybody's word, especially in this day and age, to tell me what the truth is. Because a lot of times people have an agenda. Follow the agenda, follow the money, follow whatever.
Why have we stopped thinking for ourselves when it comes to politics and forming our own opinions?
Laziness. It's easier to let somebody else do the work than to dig and do it ourselves.
So you're saying let them do the work and let them tell us who to vote for. And we say, okay, we trust you.
Some people are like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I'll put the information out there. Don't just trust what I say. Do some digging, ask some questions.
Let's go back to kind of how you started the paper or your online. What would you call it?
It's an online newspaper.
Okay. So what exactly was your home life like at this point? Because you must have been so busy. You mentioned your husband was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And you have kids at home. How
Yes.
did you manage to balance your journalism work and home life?
There was a lot of sleepless nights. And mind you, with him being gone in Iraq, he was gone for a while and then he'd come back and he was still in the military. So he was gone a lot doing training and whatnot. But I wrote when I had time. There were suggestions that I go to print. But if you go to print, you have a hard deadline and you have to do things the same every time. And I didn't have that time. I tried to balance my family life with Pike County Times. And I might not have gotten that as well as I should have, but I tried. Tried to make sure the kids with homeschooling, we could go and do what we wanted to. There was freedom in that. But Pike County Times, to be able to write and tell what was going on with the commissioners and bring in, the news as well, I could write when I had time. And I'm a night owl. So people would wait and see what I wrote by the next morning. They'd know I'd be up writing late until, 11, 12 at night. And then the next morning they could read it. That's just how I did things. And online, there was never a question that it was going to be online or print. It was always going to be online because the cost difference, paper now, all these newspapers are going out of business. But back then, I needed to be online because it was more cost effective for my family in time and the fees and things that have to be paid in order to run a website. And that's just how I chose to do things. I was not the first. There was already one in Barnesville that was online only. But that was a paid newspaper. Mine's always been free, and I feel like people need to be interested in what's going on in their community with what their representatives are doing on their behalf. It's that important. It's going to be a community service because that's where my heart is.
Have you seen the education and interest in local politics change from when you started to present day?
People are interested, and they'll ask questions. Text messages, Facebook messages, emails. People care. Sometimes they just don't have the time to do what they need to do to be at a meeting. So if they have a question, they'll ask.
Yeah, but has that changed since you began in 2006? Have people become more or less interested?
It depends on the topic. You'll have a lot of people at a meeting for this, and maybe not the rest of the time. But people do seem to be interested. It ebbs and flows. It just depends on what's going on and what time of the year it is.
So your kids grew up going to county commission meetings.
Yes, they did.
What was that like for them? And what do they have to say about that now, looking back?
Oh my goodness. Taking their homework in if they weren't done with their schoolwork, or being able to sit and color and play, quietly sitting beside me. They knew who everybody was. They would walk in and at the sheriff's office sometimes, or going and voting, they would go without me and they would go and say hey to people because they knew them from meetings. It was pretty special. People were always kind to my kids. And there were times that there were challenges because having a little boy in a county commission meeting, it's hard to have him. Will didn't want to sit still a lot. But as they got older and they didn't have to go to meetings because they were old enough to stay home, I'd say, okay, I'm going to a meeting. You want to go? And they go, I don't know. Is there going to be any fireworks tonight? And then they might want to get in the car and go. Usually, like, just stay home. It's fine. But they would hear these things during the week. They'd hear conversations. So they knew what was going on in the county.
Even from a young age.
Yes. And they would ask questions. Yes.
That's fantastic.
And they have always been interested in voting because it matters. They saw firsthand how it mattered. That's beautiful.
Do you think voting matters more or less than it ever has? Because I know we see so much talk about election fraud, no voter ID, and all these issues. And I've seen where some people were like, well, my vote just doesn't matter. Why should I even go to the polls?
I think that's lazy. I understand the frustration, but if someone's going to be making choices for me, I'm going to have a say in it. Even if there might be some cheating going on the side, I'm going to be loud and have my opinion at the polls. And that's just part of who I am. If you stay home, you don't have a right to say anything.
I agree.
I have a sticker on the back of my truck that says, if you don't vote, don't whine. I just feel that strongly. If you're going to say something about it, make a difference. Go to the poll, regardless.
Tell me a little bit about how you format your articles.
All the important stuff is in black. And anything that you see on that newspaper, I've got a piece of paper or someone has spoken it and they're claiming it. There is no anonymous anything. And if I have an opinion or I want to bring in where I've done open records requests so you can have some of the history or what all is going on in the background, all of that's in blue. It says note from the editor and it's in blue because it's my opinion or it's other information. It's my opinion's not the news. And that's just how I've always done things.
Where did you get that idea for a format like that?
Listening to the news, reading the news, watching the news, and being able to see where the speaker is or the writer is giving their opinion, even if it's subtle. I don't know of another way to say this. That offends me. I'm smart enough to make my own decision. Just give me the facts. And that's how I wanted to treat anyone who read my stuff. Here's the facts. Read it, ask questions, make your own decision. I have had people challenge me and say, but what about this? Sometimes I didn't have all the information. Sometimes I've had to go back and correct things in blue when I've made mistakes. That's embarrassing, but that is me taking responsibility for what I'm writing. You don't see that in the national news these days. They're unapologetic with the way that they present the news and sometimes where they're pushing you for their agenda. I don't like that. I don't want to be a part of that. So I guess that's just, I decided that's how I wanted to do things, and writing notes in blue from the note from the editor, it was a way to separate my opinion from the words in black, which are the facts.
Now, with all of your non-anonymous sources, do you keep records of stuff like that? So, like, if it's a text, do you keep the text, take a screenshot, or if anybody challenges you on that?
I do. I keep a lot of things for, if there's open records, there's a lot of times I'll upload them so people can see them. Or I'll tell you, I did this open record on this day. I asked for this. This is what I have. That way someone else can go and duplicate my work if they wanted to go and test what I've done.
What are your views on independent journalism and some of these independent media groups, podcast, radio shows, YouTube channels challenging legacy media?
I think it's wonderful. Dig, put the information out there. What is the harm in it? You're hearing something here, you're hearing something here. People can dig and find out what the truth is, and it may be closer to one than the other, especially if money's involved.
I think what we crave is authenticity.
Yes. Yes.
And you get a lot of that in podcasts when it's a sit-down conversation like you and I are having now, and I can look you in the eyes and ask you a question. Why did you do this, Becky?
Yes.
Why do you think this?
Yes.
What is going on over here?
Yes.
An expert in your field, you know? Not just Joe Schmo, off the streets. Well, I saw this or this happened or they told me X, Y, and Z.
You can't do that with the national media. You can't do that with a lot of big media, period. And if you question them, a lot of times you're either ignored or there's an offense there because you didn't take what they said at face value. I don't have that in me. Especially not now. We've seen too much, especially since COVID. There's just... I can listen to somebody, I can read something, and I can tell you that word right there, where'd they get their information? That word right there, they're trying to push you into supporting their opinion. I don't like that.
I want to pull up here and see if viewership has dropped for legacy media since COVID.
Oh, that's a good thing to check.
I believe it has.
I would bet that it has. People are no longer as trusting as we used to be. And it used to be we all watched the same news stations. It was basically the same information from different talking heads, but it was truthful. We don't have that anymore.
Prophets have been, like you said before we started, prophets have been put over the truth.
Yes.
Above all else, prophet.
And it's wrong.
Pew Research Center, is this a good? It's a .org. pureresearch.org. Would that be a good place to pull?
Pull it and see what it says.
Okay.
They do a lot of research and they pull numbers.
Okay. Because I didn't, there's an article here from Fox and that would be kind of biased. I don't want to pull that. Audiences are declining for traditional news media in the U.S. with some exceptions. A declining share of U.S. adults are following the news closely, according to the recent Pew Research Center surveys, and audiences are shrinking for several older types of news media, such as local TV stations, most newspaper, and public radio, even as they grow for newer platforms like podcasts, as well as for a few specific media brands. Pew Research Center has long tracked trends in the news industry. In addition to asking survey questions about America's news consumption habits, our State of News Media project uses several other data sources to look blah, blah, blah. The latest data shows a complex picture. Here are some of our key findings. U.S. newspaper circulation continues to decline, and this is how it's dropped off. Wow, what a decline. I'll pass this over and let
There's
you
a lot. That doesn't...
kind of look, and that's just newspapers.
Things have also changed on how people get their news, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people get their news from this right here.
You're right. I mean, I know I do a lot of times. It's way more convenient than I got to watch the 6 p.m. news on CBS, NBC, ABC, whatever it is.
Yep, and you can't get the AJC delivered anymore. They're all online now.
I want to see, though, if it's, like, decline viewership on, like, actual news channels that we would know.
I don't know if they'll go that deep. They do call a certain population, a certain number of people, and they pull the stats, and they've done it for so long that you've got years worth of research to look at.
News networks, The Hill, this is thehill.com. News networks see major viewership drop in 2021. And this is an old article. This was in late December of 2021. News networks saw a significant drop in viewership in 2021, according to Nielsen data, after many networks drew bigger audience the previous year amid the COVID-19 pandemic and 2020 presidential election, among other big stories. The drop in viewership this year was larger among cable news networks, the Associated Press reported, citing Nielsen data with a 38% drop in weekday primetime viewership for CNN, 34% drop for Fox News Channel, and 25% drop for MSNBC.
Wow.
Network news channels fared somewhat better than their cable counterparts, with viewership of ABC's World News Tonight and CBS Evening News dropping by 12% each, and viewership for NBC's Nightly News dropping by 14%. Outlets such as CNN have recently turned to other revenue opportunities.
Yes.
Revenue opportunities,
Exactly.
keyword, including making investments in streaming services. For example, CNN hired former NBC News anchor Casey Hunt as an anchor for its streaming service in August, and announced earlier this month that longtime Fox News Sunday host Chris Wallace would join its streaming service in early 2022.
Well, there's people that are looking for different ways to get their news as well. So rather than just,
so they're kind of diversifying.
there you go. Yes. It's not necessarily all bad, but revenue, when revenue's involved, I have to look and question, what's your motive? What's your bottom line? Do you want to tell me the truth, or is it about you making a buck?
Right.
Because I think that's a legitimate question.
It is, and I mean, any news outlet needs to do this if they expect to stay relevant in this day and time with what you're saying, us getting our news off our phones. They have to diversify. You know,
You do.
It's a must. You adapt or die. That's what they say all the time in the business world.
Yes.
And
Well, I've made changes too, because you can hit my Facebook, my Pike County Times Facebook, and you can see stuff that's happening right here, right now. Now, the big stuff, you would have to go and look on your phone and actually sit and read it. But Facebook's easy. We're also so much stuff at our fingertips, and we it goes over our heads.
Yeah, no attention spans anymore.
We don't. I don't.
Yeah, it's hard. Even my parents, like I talked with them because I thought this was an issue affecting more of my generation. And my mom's like, I don't want to sit there and watch a 20-minute video. You know, I like scrolling reels. You know, my grandfather's 72 years old, or almost 72. Anyways, he likes watching reels. You know,
Reels make me crazy.
yeah,
But my attention span is short too. I sat and watched Jonna's podcast with you and her, an hour and a half. I haven't sat and watched or listened to an hour and a half anything besides, like watching a TV show since I don't remember. But it was important and it was good. There's good information there.
right,
So maybe I should do more of that if I can slow down a little bit.
right.
Because I'm trying to cover as much as I can cover, but I'm trying to slow down and take care of me too. Because my whole life can't be Pike County Times.
Would you recommend me linking this article in the description for people to read if they want to take a look?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Pew Research, it's years worth of information.
Okay, well, that other one was The Hill talking about actual cable stations.
I used to read The Hill
Okay,
regularly.
yeah.
I don't read it so much anymore. They started having those words where I felt like I was being pushed.
Okay,
They used to be real middle of the road.
yeah.
Now, they're still probably middle of the road, but I'll go to other news sources.
I'll link the Pew Research one just for, and that's newspaper, y'all. So that, take that with a grain of salt, because let's be honest, who's really reading the newspaper anymore? Like who's grabbing that? I mean, maybe more people than I expect. I like reading the local newspaper.
I read local.
But regardless, I'll link that one. If you want to find the one I'm talking about on the Hill, you can go and look it up yourself. But let's take a quick break, and then we'll get
Okay.
into the rest of it.
Sounds good.
All right, Miss Becky, coming out of this break, I kind of want to ask you about being a watchdog for the community. You've been attending county commission meetings now for a while. How many years has it been?
Here in Pike County, 26. But I had it's almost 30 years because I was in Upson County before here.
Okay. And what keeps you going back to each and every meeting?
I feel like listening to what our representatives have to say and watching what they do and how they vote, it matters. And as much as their voice matters as they vote on our behalf, that the people that are watching the meeting, I feel like my opinion matters. Other people's opinion matters too. Even if they don't vote my way, to be able to have a discussion and figure out why they're doing what they're doing, it's good.
And we've touched on this a little bit, but kind of let's dive a little deeper. What would you say to people who think local government doesn't really affect their everyday life? Because I know for myself, when I was a little bit younger in my ignorance, like I was like, it's just like local politics. Nobody really cares. They're just up there doing the thing.
I can't make a difference or change an opinion in Washington, D.C., or even in Atlanta. You need a group of people for that. And they say one phone call, one letter is worth 500 people, but that's one. Here in my local government, they know you, and your opinion should matter. They should listen to you. They should return your phone call. They should talk with you about why they're choosing to do what they're doing, why they're making a vote on whatever. That's part of it. You have an opportunity to make a difference here at home that you don't have in Atlanta or D.C.
Tell me about the question on the back of your t-shirt.
Okay, the back of my t-shirt. Hold on, let me move so you can actually, I'm going to be able to see it. It
Yeah.
says,
Hold on, let me step over here and see. All right, turn around. Yep. There it is.
okay,
What does it say? Tell the people who are just listening what it says.
it says, who called you? What is the number one question that I get when I walk into somewhere that I don't normally come in? Because I'm at county commission meetings all the time. But if I walk into a city meeting or a school board meeting or, whatever, people ask, who called you? And normally the one that asks, who called you, is the one that was doing something that made somebody call me. And that's just part of the watchdogging and civil activists making sure people follow the rules, do what they're supposed to. Who called you? I don't know. Are you the one that was misbehaving? Because, I got a phone call. I won't tell you who it was, but, somebody called me. I've had phone calls. There was a possibility of the library in Williamson being shut down. That was several years ago. I got phone calls. That room was full of people who love their library. And it's still there today. They just had an awesome Easter egg hunt. Very interacting with the community. But things like that, I get phone calls. And people ask questions first. Is this what they're doing? Is it breaking a rule? I go where I'm called a lot of times. And I'll go ask questions too. Or I'll send in open records and then I'll get the question, who called you? That usually means somebody wasn't behaving.
Has your response to that changed over the years?
No, it's usually, I got a phone call. Or somebody talked to me. Are you the one? And usually it is. Because I know already. They know. They knew before they asked me.
What's something you've dug into over the years that you believe's actually made a difference for people here in the community?
Oh my goodness. Keeping up with how our county commission meetings are run, there are specific rules that need to be followed, and that includes by those who are serving, those who are the county manager, different situations since 2000. If we have rules, we need to follow them. If there are rules and they think they need to be tweaked or changed, they need to change them. But you can't just go and do what you want to. If it's written, you need to follow it. I mean, that's just how it goes. And over time, probably moving into doing the Facebook Lives so people can see that transparency. I don't have to do everything now. People can sit and watch it, even from home if they can't come. All of that stuff works together. And I'm glad to be a part of that.
You care deeply about the community, and outside of keeping your opinions in blue within your articles, how do you stay fair to both sides?
Take a deep breath, step back. Don't write on something when I'm angry. If you write on something when you're not focused on presenting just the facts, there's going to be opinion in there. And I don't want to be a part of that. So sometimes something will sit for a few days, maybe even a week, and then I can write about it when I'm impartial. I need to be objective when I write it and just present the facts. Opinions are in blue are fine if I have, the documentation to present and whatnot. But not writing when I'm mad is the biggest thing.
Is there anything in politics we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about?
Not really. You've done a really good job with this.
Thank you. Well, then tell me about the biggest story you've ever covered. Because from your bio you sent me.
Oh, yeah.
And then from our conversations before the episode, this has me fascinated.
Oh, my goodness. I love history. And I went and did some digging. I won't read all of this, but I will give you the highlights.
Start from the top.
All right. Lieutenant Robert Eugene Oxford was born in Concord in 1919. He grew up there, high school, and then he enlisted in the military. During World War II, he was a member of an 8-member crew on a B-24J Liberator bomber. And they flew supplies over the hump, the Himalayan mountains, between India and China during a time before China was a communist country. And they were helping, the United States was helping support China against an invasion from Japan. Lieutenant Oxford's plane did not arrive where it was supposed to in 1994. And 1944, his plane was assumed to have crashed. He was declared missing and then declared killed in action later, several months later, because sometimes the planes would crash and survivors would walk out and come back to safety months later. So when no one arrived from the plane, they were declared killed in action. In late 2006, Clayton Cools from MIA Recoveries out of Arizona located the plane crash in India up on top of a mountain. He found pieces of the plane, parachute, human remains, and he turned it in to the government and said, "Here's the pictures. Here's what I found." Family members in this area found out the next year when family members from the crews started talking and searching each other out. And during this time, they were asking for the U.S. government to bring their people home so they could be buried here. At that time, they'd been waiting 63 years to hear something. Eugene's brother was still alive when the family was notified about finding the plane. I talked to Mr. Fred in 2011. Before 2011, he passed away in 2011. He told me his life story, and he told me a lot about growing up with Eugene. He actually gave me his memoirs, and those are on Pike County Times right now. The government sent in a search team Oh, Mr. Fred was the last of the siblings to still be alive when they found the remains of Eugene's plane. The government sent in a search team with a recovery mission in 2015. So they were going to go up on this mountain and bring back what they could. The mission was cut short, but they brought back some of the human remains. They were going to do DNA testing to find out for sure if this was one of the members from the plane. And they did all that testing in Hawaii. The families were notified. And finally, in 2017, after 73 years of waiting, the Oxford family was notified that the remains were brought back from India belonged to Eugene, which means by finding him, that also meant that the other crew members were also going to be remembered as well. But they didn't bring back remains for everybody. They just brought back what they could. So there was definitely confirmation that Eugene died in this plane crash high up on a mountain in India. The process that was followed to bring his body home, he was escorted by another lieutenant. If people have ever, if you want to sit and watch the movie Taking Chance with Kevin Bacon, it shows the respect that is shown for bringing home one of our military members. I took a picture of the man who escorted Eugene home at Moody Daniel Funeral Home. He's standing and reading all of Eugene's information and reading about the man that he brought home. A really nice man, and the way that things were handled was really, really respectful. They brought his remains into the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport, and there was an escort from Atlanta down Highway 75 to Moody Daniel Funeral Home. I was on I-75 today, and it was terrible. But that day, they stopped traffic on both sides of the road. You had the Patriot Guard, you had GSP, you had deputies from here. They were all escorting Eugene's remains home so he could be buried in Concord. It was all over the news. There were people lining the roads, yellow ribbons everywhere. It was a beautiful patriotic sight for me driving back. And the most beautiful thing that I didn't get a picture of, I had interviewed Eugene's fiance's best friend because his fiance had already passed. But her best friend told their whole story. And she said that whenever Eugene came home, her best friend had said, when he comes home, I'll be here. I'll be standing there watching. And Montine at 91 was standing at the 1941 Ingalls gas station holding her friend's frame like this and standing as we drove by in the motorcade. It was absolutely a beautiful tribute for her friend. The memorial service then was supposed to be held. This was on a Thursday. The memorial service was on Saturday. And I got a phone call in the car coming down the road where a businessman in Pike County had just been chit-chatting with a close friend at a real estate closing and said, hey, there's a flyer that is going to be brought home and he'll be buried in Concord. And he flew over the hump and was flying supplies over to China. And this lady said, wow, I would like to read more about that. So he gave her links to my articles and she sat and read the articles, and she called him, just happened to be that Thursday as we were driving home with Eugene's body and with his remains, and asked, hey, I would like to come to the funeral. Can I come and bring 10 friends? And I went, I don't know. I'm with the family now. When we get to the funeral home, I'll ask and see what they say. Asked the family, they said, absolutely. Yes, you can absolutely come. And she wanted to come and show respect and honor for a man that was supporting the Chinese people back then. And I'll tell you more on that in just a minute. So the number grew between Thursday and Saturday, 10 people, 20 people, 40 people. And then by the day of the funeral, it was supposed to be maybe 150. There were people, we kept hearing, thank you for coming, thank you for coming. There were probably 250 Chinese people, Chinese Americans from all around the country who came to this funeral to honor a man that they never met, who came and fought for not just the United States freedom, but for their freedom as well. It was absolutely beautiful. There's the whole story. It's talking about two cultures coming together and the respect and the honor that was shown to this flyer who gave his life, helping their people. At the story went out between Thursday and Saturday. It went out through Atlanta Chinese Life through their website, and it said, Lieutenant Oxford, we should go to his funeral. And that it spread like wildfire, and people came from New York, from Philadelphia, from the Johns Creek area, all over the state came up there. Even with 150 people, they were like, it holds 700. It's not a problem. There were as many Chinese American community members there as there were people from our community. It was absolutely beautiful. And then one of the things that kept coming to me, not one of them knew Eugene personally, but they came to show their respect. And they honored a man who'd given his life not only for his freedom, but for theirs. It was just beautiful. They went to, he was buried, Lieutenant Oxford was buried in Concord, a tiny little cemetery underneath the trees. And there was also a gathering afterwards. There were a lot of interactions between the Chinese community and family members and Patriot Guard members. One family member was told, if it wasn't for your uncle, none of us would be here. That's pretty heavy stuff right there. With the Patriot Guard, one of the writers was told, he may be one of your American heroes, but they were our heroes too. Without them, many of us would not be alive to show our respects today. Our country must never forget the price that they paid for us. I have found, even after the memorial service and then the burial, the Chinese community has continued to come back and meet with extended family. Memorial Day, they've been down several times to lay flowers on the grave. They've invited family members to go up to Johns Creek and see. I've seen a Chinese New Year. Absolutely beautiful. And to have somebody there to explain all the things that are going on with that, because I don't understand the traditions, but to have somebody there at the table that can explain why they're doing this and why they're doing this, it was absolutely fascinating. I learned so much. But the thing that I've learned the most is that the Chinese people, the Chinese American community, they appreciate freedom so much because China now is communist, where back in the day it wasn't. And so many times we as Americans take our freedom here for granted. They don't take that for granted at all. They are so grateful. They are so reverent. The honor that has been shown to Lieutenant Oxford and his family and to this community is absolutely amazing. There is a sign in American and in Chinese that shows where Lieutenant Oxford is buried in Concord. That story, when it aired, it was picked up. My work was picked up as far as the Daily Mail in the UK, and there were numerous Chinese stations that picked up the information and ran with it, and just told the story. There are museums over there for the Flying Tigers, which tells a lot about the people that were doing the flying, bringing in the supplies to help save the Chinese people from Japanese invasion. The honor and the reverence there, it's absolutely beautiful. It's the coolest story that I've ever covered, and the story still isn't done because the memorial happened in 2017. Eugene came home, and they also honored all of his crew members, even though they haven't come home. And to date, I don't know that their remains have been brought back home. I need to do some digging and see, but I would have thought that if that had happened, I would know. I don't think it's happened. It takes a lot of money and time to go over there and climb up the mountain and bring the stuff home. Bring home, any of the artifacts, bring home bodily remains. But people are dying as they're sitting and waiting for their loved ones to come home. Fred knew that he was coming home, but he didn't survive long enough to see his brother come home to be buried in Concord. And it's just World War II. That's part of it as the years pass. But that's the biggest story that I've ever covered. And the interactions with the people, that's probably the coolest thing I've ever seen, was telling people, thank you for coming, because of that honor and that respect.
That's a beautiful story. Wow.
It is. And there's a lot of articles that go with it that tell, about the teapot that he and Susan had been given. I saw the teapot, could touch the teapot. It was there. It was one of their wedding gifts. It's still in the family. There were letters. The DPAA, which is the government, when they went, that's their crew that went in to bring home who they could bring home. They sent someone out to show the family. They walked them through everything that they did. It was very respectful from the government to the family as well, showing them what they did in order to try and bring, everybody home. All of that, there's article after article, they're all linked on Pike County Times. If someone did a search for Eugene Oxford and Pike County Times, they should pull up one and they should all link together. And there's articles that range from 2007 all the way to 2017.
Now, were they engaged or were they married?
They were engaged. He was supposed to come home and they were going to get married. And it didn't happen.
What is their story?
Their story is on Pike County Times. You need to go and read it.
Awesome.
Yes.
I have to do that then.
Yes, Montine told the best friend, told Susan's story. Absolutely beautiful.
Did she ever get married after that?
She did. She did for a while, and that's all in there too.
Okay.
But she waited a long time. She said she was going to be standing there when he came home.
Wow.
And he never came home.
We'll link that so people can read.
Yes, please.
Do they know why his plane went down? Was it shot down? Was it?
They made guesses. Things back in those days were not like they are now with the navigation. And it was high up in the mountains, and there was there's no telling. They really don't know. But there were, hold on, let me look. There were 430 Americans in 90 planes that were lost in India, just in India, because there were more than that were lost. But those that were resupplying the Chinese army to hold back the Japanese invasion. It's a lot of planes. There's a lot of people that are still over there that need to be brought home. Their families deserve closure. And I'm grateful to people like Clayton Cools, who went out there with his own money and with donations and went on these trips to go and bring some sort of closure to people to let them know this plane's here, and he turns it all into the government for them to do what they need to do.
You mentioned something, you told me, maybe just in our chats, about something about a movie potentially being made on it.
Yes. There has been talk about a book and maybe a movie too. This story just continues to grow. Yes, this friendship between two cultures is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Can you talk a little bit about the patriotism in a lot of Chinese Americans that you may not even see in natural born U.S. citizens.
For those 250 people to come from other side of Atlanta, from other states, there's just respect and there's reverence there. They truly appreciate the freedoms that we have here in our country, where you and I, we've always had it, and we don't have a home country that's communist now. They appreciate the difference in how they're able to live and live their lives here, which sometimes we just take for granted. So many people talk badly about our country, but if you went and lived somewhere else, you might not like it as much as you do here. We have so much freedom, including the freedom to talk badly about our country, that so many people don't have in other countries.
Well, let me ask how you kind of got started on this story.
The family contacted me back in 2007, and they told me about it, and I wrote an article. Well, when they found out that there was a possibility that there were human remains that would be returned, they called me. I love the family, the whole extended family, because there's a lot of them, and there's Oxfords and there's Roans and good people. And they just said, we want Becky to write this story because she wrote the first story and she did a good job with it. And I care. I don't know how to be anything but what I am. And for them to tell me their story and trust me to write it meant a lot. And to be able to continue to follow it all the way through, it has been an absolute honor. That story right there, yes, an absolute honor to write it.
Do you still keep in touch with the family? Do you talk to them from time to time?
I do.
And is his grave to where the public can go see it, or is it on a private plot?
It's in the back of a farm, and it's got the sign there. Chinese people come to Concord every so often, and when you see a Chinese person who's asking questions, you kind of know where to direct them to go. It doesn't happen often now, but it has happened. They've gone to Concord looking for the grave so they could show their respects.
So neat.
It's really cool.
So talk to me about your faith and how it plays into all of this that you do.
Oh, wow. It's the basis of what I do. I try to treat other people like I want to be treated. I'm trying my best to follow the Word of God as I'm writing. If you're living out your faith, it impacts everything that you do. And if I'm going to write, I want it to be the truth. I want it to be the facts and not my opinion, because I don't want to be treated by somebody telling me what my opinion should be. So I'm trying to treat other people like I want to be treated. Yeah.
How does that show up in your day-to-day of what you do, especially when you're covering something hard or controversial?
I have an article right now that I'm not going to go into here that I haven't written because I was so emotional sitting in court watching it that I couldn't write it at that point. I take a deep breath, take a couple of days, pray over it. I need the wisdom to be objective, the wisdom and the courage to be objective and just put the facts out there. It's how I roll. I don't know how to be anything else but that.
You said you'd walk away the day he says you're done. How do you know you're still supposed to be here doing this?
I haven't felt released from my calling. And I can look myself in the mirror. I know what I'm doing. I'm where I'm supposed to be. Where I'll tell people I don't know everything, but often I'll know somebody who knows somebody who can help somebody. That I see that all as part of what I do. And until the Lord says, that's it, you can retire. Let somebody else carry it on. Who knows? Maybe you'll decide you want to be a writer. Maybe you'll be Pike County Times one of these days. It could happen, you know. But for right now, I feel like I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Have you seen anyone that's younger had taken interest in this sort of work in the local community?
Attending meetings, yes. Doing the writing and the digging and the hours of research, no. But it could happen. Young people are very attentive to how the world operates and who's doing what on whose behalf, and the strings tied behind it sometimes, including, you know, the money or the influence or whatever. Y'all are paying attention. And y'all are not just the world of tomorrow, y'all are the world of today. And who knows? I mean, it could happen. I've had people ask about writing articles. I've had young people write articles. I put them on as a guest columnist. I would love for somebody to want to help pick up and roll and do, or to show up at a meeting, say a Board of Education meeting, or some of these other meetings that I don't have time to attend. Any of the city meetings. I could tell somebody how to get set up, and they could roll with even a Facebook Live. That would help people see what's going on. I've had some interest in that. Nobody on a regular basis yet, but it could happen. I have faith.
I know somebody that might potentially be interested in that.
Oh, just holler. It's very easy to get set up and do what I do. And just sitting back and listening and watching, nobody's going to be mean to you with a Facebook Live. It's very easy. And it's written in the law, open meetings. You can, real easy, absolutely allowed.
Awesome. Well, I hope somebody does come along that wants to, because this work you're doing, it is the Lord's work in a way. It's very important.
I think so too.
You know, how do you think things would be different if you never started that blog in 2006?
Wow. I don't want to make it about me.
I know, and that's a tough question.
That is a tough
ask.
question. But putting the information out there, taking me out of the equation and say putting the information out there, if that information wasn't out there, things could be very different. There probably wouldn't be a live video of commission meetings right now. Maybe later on. But that transparency, we had people that are in office that said, hey, we want to do this. And I Facebook Live for several years before it happened, just so people could see it. People appreciate seeing it. How do you find out the information if it's not out there and you can't go to a meeting? Because sometimes people can't. I don't know. Things could be very different, but I don't want to make it about me either.
No, I understand that.
But I sure have enjoyed the ride. And I'll do what I'm supposed to do until the time has come to step back.
Well, I just want to thank you personally for all the work you've done. I know it's meant something to me and my family, and it's gotten us more involved with the community and
Like that.
and understanding what's going on here. You know,
I like that.
I've lived in Pike County my entire life, and I'm just coming to the realization in the last few years of how important local government is.
Yes.
And how not just myself, but all young people need to be involved and need to be educated.
Yes. Y'all could be running for office too when the time comes.
Miss Becky, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and letting me interview you and tell me some about your life and the work that you do.
Thank you very much.
How does Pike County Times keep going? And in that, walk me through how people can support you.
Okay. I have a link at the top of the page. I've got Venmo, Cash App, all the stuff where people can send donations. And people can get breaking news alerts. It's only $25 a year. You're helping pay for some of my gas. And I send out text messages and emails to let people know what is, if there's breaking news going on, say a lawsuit, say whatever, it goes out and you get it first. And it goes on the newspaper at the same time, but you actually get a notification that it's going online, so you don't have to look for it later. Also, anybody who wants to support their business by buying an ad, you have to buy an ad for Pike County Times. All my ad prices are listed. And then for free, I share stuff on Facebook. So I'm trying to support the community by saying, you know, thank you to this company for supporting hometown news. That's my new slogan. And Facebook, I can share, you know, events that are ongoing, all the different things that are happening like this second, or if there's a way to help people that have been, you know, in a fire, different things like that, or different fundraisers that are going on, anything that I can do to try and help the community, that's what I'm doing through Facebook. But I don't share ads on Facebook unless they buy an ad on Pike County Times. That way it keeps everybody on the same even ground. And that's how I've always done things. Oh, and my ads. I have people that have been with me since 2007 that are paying $10 a month for their ads because as long as you're with me continuously, the ad prices don't change.
That's great. That's awesome. And we'll be sure to link all of this stuff.
Oh, thank you very much.
And so
Thank you.
people can find your articles and
Yep.
support you. If somebody in the community sees something happening and wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way to do that?
My umbilical cord is it is 770-468-7583. A text message, a phone call, an email, Facebook Messenger, either to my personal account, Becky Clark Watts, or to the Pike County account. I'm pretty easy to catch. It's just a matter of if I don't pick it up, I'm probably in a meeting or something, and then I'll call back. But I always return all my calls, my emails. If someone sends me an email and I don't reply, it means I got distracted because a lot of stuff was going on and they probably need to hit me up again. Because that happens. Pike County Times is just me. I do it, all of it, just because I always have.
What's next for you?
Oh my goodness. I'll keep rolling with this. And then at some point I'll probably step away, though I don't ever see me stepping away from politics, period. There was a year between Upson County and Pike County that I didn't go to meetings. And my husband could see that I was like this. I could see the meetings were going on and I wanted to know. So I want to know what's going on. So I'll probably always be involved in politics wherever I'm at. Maybe not to this extent, though. At some point, I'll step back. But not yet.
You're going to keep going.
Well, you do what you enjoy. God gave me a job that I have the heart for, and I love what I'm doing. If there's an opportunity to help people, to show Jesus in politics, that's what I want to do. And all that. Politics doesn't have to be ugly. Now, there are times that it is, and I'll report it, but it doesn't have to be ugly all the time. There's information that people need to make decisions on, and you need to know why your people are voting on your behalf. That's pretty simple to me, but I like politics most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. I like my job a whole lot.
I offer every guest the opportunity to underline a passage of scripture or a verse that has meant something to them throughout their life, a season or whatever. So, is that something you would do?
I absolutely would.
Okay. And then, lastly, 3 people you would like to see on the show.
Oh, my heavens. I don't know about 3, but I can think of 1 right off, maybe 2.
Okay.
But throw people under the bus. They're liable to have my head. Michael Powell from Pike Family Connection. I'll give you his information.
I know who you're talking about.
You know him?
I've met him before.
He is an absolutely amazing individual. I wish I had just a smidgen of his energy. He's everywhere. Second person, Angela Johnson. She's a friend that does Reconciliation House. They do work to help children of incarcerated prisoners, and they do work over in Yatesville. She's amazing. They do. They take food to people in the community that need food every Christmas. It's a lot. I mean, like hundreds of plates. They do all of that too. But she's got a summer camp that's coming up right now for children of incarcerated prisoners, and it touches lives. And they're looking for individuals to help with that program. It's a week-long program.
That's incredible. Wow. Could you make those connections for me?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there's probably more. I probably should have thought about that more before I walked in here.
Completely fine. Just shoot them to me as you think about it.
Okay. Yeah. Helping people in the community. That's the kind of people that, that'd be really good.
Well, Miss Becky, thank you so much for joining me today. And this really was special, and it's been something that I know, like my parents, they've been wanting to hear for a while, and especially my mom. She was like, "You need to get Miss Becky on."
I love her.
She's great, and for me too. I know you've made probably a bigger impact in the community than you realize, and I hope that people tell you thank you. I'm sure they don't tell you enough.
People do tell me thank you, and it is it's humbling, because I'm just doing what God's calling me to do. But people really appreciate being able to read the information, to see the facts.
Well, thank you so much. And don't stop.
Oh, not ever.
Don't
Hold
stop.
on. Micah 6:8. God has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does God require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. That's my verse.
Amen. What a great way to close.
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Becky.
Thank you very much.